Good evening, everybody, and welcome again to the Borderline Podcast with me, your host, Andrew Willox. Guys, we've got an absolutely brilliant show lined up for you tonight. I've got the absolutely brilliant Yasmin Doyle, WNBF competitor. Finally got that right. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Originally, I was quite nervous, but we're
kind of
settled
mellowed
into it. Yeah,
Yes. It is quite nerve-wracking, though, isn't it, when you first kind of come in?
Yeah, the mics and stuff like that, it's a little bit intimidating.
I actually think you've calmed me more down than you did the other way. The old man didn't help.
I'll take that.
So how you been? How's training been last kind of week?
So I'm kind of getting back into a routine at the moment. I've kind of slacked a little bit, I'm not going to lie. I'm still doing consistent gym days, but in terms of the intensity and stuff like that, mainly my diet in terms of sort of snacking a little bit. So I'm just getting back into that. So I did 5 days as usual, and it's been quite good actually. I'm feeling a lot stronger.
Good.
Although the weights come up, so it's kind of going in line with that. The weight's coming up, so the weights in the gym are also increasing. So
good.
I also did a Monroe yesterday, so I'm feeling it.
I've never done one.
Really?
I'm just sitting through the heights. Shane's actually always said, he said, we'll get you up, because Shane said he's also been scared of heights too.
I'm terrified of heights. Yesterday, sort of the sort of soreness that you get from the gym, I was like, oh, shall I not? I was really debating it. But I was up there, I was like, we'll do it, how I was saying, all or nothing. And I just decided to do it. And, it was 100% worth it. It was, I was shaken because of, it's so misty and stuff up there. So all you can see is kind of the peaks. So
that's scary.
I've not actually posted about it yet, so no one knows about it. But once I post the video and the pictures, you'll see how terrifying the peaks are. And
you're not selling it, but you were selling it.
No, honestly, I think once you do one and you're like, right, I'll do it, I think you get addicted to it, and it's kind of the outdoor part of it as well. The nature.
Nature's that's the best thing for everything.
Can't beat
it's
it.
like the dip last week.
Yeah.
Even just being outside doing that, it just changes the dynamic completely of it.
It made me feel so much better.
It was good. The amount of people as well. I'm still buzzing about that.
I'm so surprised how many people came.
It was freezing last Sunday, and it was a weird thing when I was at the gym this morning. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that was just a week ago. It feels like a long time ago.
Yeah, it does.
Shocked the brain. So so when did you start training? Were you a Sparta gym member, or were you a sweatshopper?
I was Sparta.
Sparta, but in the sweatshop.
Yes. So the one that was sort of just across
on there. How old were you then?
17, 18, I think, something like that. I've got to have been because I've been training at Sparta for 4-ish years now. Although I say 2 years because I don't really count the mismatched do what you want sort of thing. I only sort of count how long I've been training seriously for. And I would say it's around about 2 years.
2 years. So it was see, before you kind of came into the gym, were you what you would say complete novice? Did you kind of have any sort of fitness back?
I had no clue.
Go in.
Although Shane, we did some sort of workouts, home workouts, sort of the typical what I'd used to go by is Chloe Ting, sort of the YouTube videos.
Your generic sort of let's get fit at home in 10 sort of thing.
But the thing is, I would never stay consistent with it. It would be a couple of weeks worth of doing it every single day, and then one day I'd forget, and it'd be oh well, that's kind of done now. So there was a time where when I was a lot younger, I was doing just that. Just some sit-ups, just some sort of runs, and it didn't really work out.
Kind of materialize and anything. So obviously you kind of go into the gym then. Was it just fall in love straight away, or was it you had to fall in love because you knew that it was something you didn't enjoy?
I think the very first one was, I think it was more the excitement of what could be, because I saw Shane like doing all of these weights. Obviously, he'd been training for a while by that point, and it was just sort of like what could be at that point. And obviously, I wanted to work on my physique. I wanted to the typical sort of, I didn't want to be muscular. I didn't want to be broad. My shoulders were quite broad. It was a little bit of an insecurity of mine of like broad shoulders because, you know, it's quite top heavy. I didn't have a lot going on in terms of like quads or anything. So, I think the excitement of actually trying to build something overtook all of the nerves and stuff like that. So
that's I think that probably. I mean, I entered the gym because I was so self-conscious because I was so skinny. So my aspect was just like eat, Chicago Downs, Chicago Downs, Chicago Downs. So like I'm assuming, was your diet loosely based as well when you first kind of went in, or
it was really bad.
If you look back now, is it like cringe?
Even like pre-prep, sort of the things that you realize during that is kind of, you realize how much food that you need to calculate, like all of the macros and stuff like that.
It's ridiculous.
And how much food is actually healthy compared to what you thought was healthy in the beginning. Like me just doing ab workouts and stuff like that, I thought that things that I was eating was healthy. But looking back, it was like, no, you know, you're just eating just what you think is healthy, but it's actually full of sugar.
That's it.
It's everything. There was no protein either.
Well, I was a very big micro meal person for the protein. Oh, it's got 34.8 grams of protein. Going to be double jacked now. Start bringing it, and then you actually look at it and you're like, and it tasted horrible too. It was that kind of sort of thing that you
I think it was sort of the industry of like the protein. You've got to really be careful because, as you just said there, you look at the thing and it's like 34 grams worth of protein and it's like, great, I'm gonna have that. But when you actually look at the back and see what's in it and how many calories for that 34 grams is like, okay.
And the biggest misconception ever, I don't know if you ever watch any of these videos, is Greg Doucette sometimes. Or Greg Doucette, I can't pronounce his name.
I have heard of him. I don't watch
the Canadian guy. He's got a really annoying voice. He does really good stuff on like, or used to do it before he became annoying. It was, he would like kind of break down a meal of what it said on the back, and it was obviously a complete mismatch if you took like how many calories is in 1 gram of protein, how many calories is in 1 carb, and it's just so out. And like, I'm guessing that is why prep is so vital.
100%.
100%, isn't it?
It's so calculated as well. Like you have to measure everything, and like even if you look at the back of that package and say, like, how do you know that that is 100% true? Unless you've calculated it yourself. You've got to have a little bit of give in the calories and the protein and sort of account for that. Which is what I didn't do in the beginning, and I got pulled up on it and say, look, you need to calculate this amount of fat, this amount of carb, this amount of calories and protein, and make sure you stick to the similar sort of foods. Like if you keep going with different foods and say swapping out constantly, you won't get the same amount every single time, so it'll be a little bit difficult to sort of calculate the average on that. So my meals were pretty much the same the entire time until something had to be swapped out. So it'd be like every single thing to the gram, to the calorie, to the protein, and nothing else.
Nah. Sorry. No, me personally, it's okay. Personally, I couldn't. That's intense. So like, how does a novice doesn't have any kind of previous gym anything then go from 2 years of, I'm going to air quote, training? What then happens is like, how do you think, I actually love this now, I want to drive on? Like, when does that start happening?
Okay, so I mean, I did sort of want to do something to actually show off my physique.
Yeah.
There was things sort of speculating around. I was thinking about like modeling or something like that, and it was like I want to do something that I can show I've done this for this amount of time, and this is what I've got to show for it. I think the point where it's like I'm gonna do it is when I went to Shane's first competition.
Yeah.
So I went along with him, and I was with him the entire prep, and I started like getting intrigued as to what competing actually involves. You know,
Mhm.
trying to become a little bit more informed so I could help him a little bit, because I
Yeah.
felt like all I was doing is be like, "You're doing good, let's keep going," sort of thing. But I wanted to actually be able to offer a little bit of support that
Yeah.
isn't from a
That's
sort of
brilliant.
like keep going
That's
sort of
amazing.
thing.
No, that's so
Thank you.
cool. No, that is actually so cool. So like, obviously, yeah. So like, Shane kind of goes. Obviously, he got on, slam the table. He got on stage.
Uh-huh.
So I'm assuming while he was on there, were you kind of following like before Shane went on stage, Shane's workouts, or is that where you were starting to create your own
Yeah.
sort of way in the gym, or was it primarily again what Shane was doing because it was going to work well for Shane?
Yeah. So basically, I've literally only been following Shane's regime the entire time.
Wow.
Ever since like literally the first, even like the YouTube videos were sort of influenced by Athlete Next, sort of like the ab workout stuff like that.
Jeff Cavalier, is that
I,
Athlete Next? Is that? Oh,
I don't know his actual
yeah,
name,
he's
but
really good. He's
yeah.
really good. Yeah, I really like him.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
But
interrupted.
in terms of like my actual routine, everything has been sculpted around Shane's regimes and what he likes to do and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But as we went through prep, it was kind of like, right, we need to actually adapt the sort of the schedule that we had to my physique at that point,
Mhm.
because it's like bikinis more glute and quad and hamstring dominant.
Yeah.
So it was kind of that needed to be the focus. Whereas in men's physique, it needs to be big back, big
Yeah. Big
shoulders,
back.
big chest,
Yeah.
small waist sort of thing. So it was at that point it did change a little bit, but
Mhm.
not so much where it was like we want two different regimes.
Yeah.
It just essentially I added 2 days onto what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. So I'm right in saying Shane's program is a proven route to success.
absolutely.
Why isn't he selling
100%.
it?
At this point, he should sell it
He should.
because
It,
it really would.
packets or it would
Yeah,
work.
yeah, 100%. There's been a few people as well on the journey that have sort of like came in uh on the little workouts, like John, bless him. I love John.
Yeah.
Shout out John.
Oh, John Peakman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he used to come in on our workouts, especially on the first competition, his like first official one, for the beginner. John was in the workouts quite a lot then,
Yeah.
and then there was Jack. Jack was coming in a couple of times, and we had a couple other people that were like, "Oh, can I come in?" sort of
Yeah.
thing. It's quite nice because they could really see, they'd come in the next day and be like, "Oh, I
Wow.
could feel that there. I
Yeah.
could feel the chest. I could feel the back, whatever." And it was almost like they were intimidated by it, but impressed by
Yeah.
the sort of the work rate that we had as well, because we're seriously like, right,
Well,
you need to go.
I've seen you in the gym, and you do work very, very hard.
Thank you.
I'm not going to ask what is in Shane's training regime
Just in case he
in
does
respect
that.
to him.
Yeah.
But can I talk about one workout that I noticed that was, I think, is a focal point in the hack squat?
Yeah.
Do you, like, that's very, for me, very Dorian Yates because it's very hard, brutish. Is that kind of like the style, kind of like the blood and guts of like failure?
Yes.
Failure.
Yes.
That you kind of go for?
We push beyond failure.
Yes.
So it's like once you go to failure, take a couple breaths, get a few more out, and if you can't, then that's what your spotter is there for.
Yep.
So the spotter then comes in and be like, right, you need to do a couple more.
So have you ever done a Dorian Yates blood and guts workout?
I haven't actually done like sort of I've took the concept of it
Yeah, because it's
to every single workout, but I haven't done that
yeah, because
specific one.
he's my if there was an idol
Yeah.
per se, he hates me purely on that because it
Yeah.
was as you know, once you go past failure
Yeah.
and failure again,
Yeah.
it's a different aspect of training completely, isn't it?
No, absolutely.
And so obviously you're following Shane's program.
Mhm.
I'm not going to specifically ask about that.
Yeah.
So you kind of take over when the prep kind of kicks in. Like, was it always kind of bikini that you were going to go for?
Yeah. So I was like sort of delving into a couple of the other categories. However, for my shape and the way I am right now, and that I've only been training for 2 years, like seriously, I didn't think that it would be a smart idea. And I'm glad I didn't, based on the people that were there. If I had went for any other category, I wouldn't have looked right on stage.
Yeah.
Because bikini is all about the femininity side, so all about being feminine, flaunty, showing off your physique, but not like tensing it out and showing all the striations and stuff like that. So I think bikini, I also quite like feeling feminine as well, especially because I tend to just go about in like a hoodie and, I get quite aggressive during the workouts as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I feel like it's a little bit more masculine the way that I walk around.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind me bringing it up, obviously just before we done this, when we were kind of doing our sound checks and whatnot, something that I picked up was obviously people could be intimidated by you, by your by the way you look when you're training because it's so intense.
Yeah.
And how is that for a girl in a guy in a I don't want to be sexist and whatnot, but you know the way that I'm kind of going with this. It's a very guy engineered world.
Yeah, it's a very male dominated
More,
aspect.
Thanks. That's a much better way of saying it. Yeah. Thanks. How hard is it for a girl to kind of take that leap, so to speak? Like, I don't mean obviously for you, it would have been relatively easy for you because you believed and you had the love, but it must be hard.
Yeah, definitely. It is very intimidating, especially sort of now there's quite a lot of criticism, and there's a lot of comparisons as well. And once you walk into a gym, and for anyone in general, but especially as a woman, then they start looking at like the people in the gym. They start looking, say for instance, me. I don't want them to look at me and be like, oh, really intimidated by it. I want them to be like, right, this could be a person that could help me on my journey, you know. I do have a bit of a bitch face, I'm not gonna lie. So that doesn't really help in terms of being approachable, and I am trying to sort of be a little bit less intense during my breaks.
Yeah. Well, it's easier for me because I've kind of known you from the earlier days, but I think you're a very approachable person.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But I think in general for a woman, it is very intimidating, especially in the free weight section.
Yeah.
Like there's so much choice that it starts getting overwhelming, especially if you don't know what to do. You're just there to better yourself. And then you walk into a gym with people that have 200-300 kilograms on the leg press, the hack squat, bench and double your body weight.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the point where then you start self-criticizing, like, right, I'm only doing 2-3 kilograms on something, which, as I've said, I've been training for 4 years, and for like the horizontals, I'm still on the 2-3 kilograms, and the 4 kilograms is the max I can do. It's not really. It shouldn't be about the weights at that point, because as long as you are better or want to be better than what you were before, that should really be the only comparison.
That's a brilliant message.
And I do get that it's a lot more difficult than said. I've compared to people before. I got quite competitive at the start, like seeing the weights and looking over and being like, right, they're doing that weight, so I need to do that weight, because then I can feel like I belong almost. Like I need to be stronger. So it kind of pushed me on to doing more weight. But now I realize that it's not always about the weight, as long as you're doing the reps, as long as you're pushing yourself
Yeah.
to the max that you can do or you want to. You know, not everyone has to walk into the gym and scream in pain because they've done about 50 reps.
No,
you
that's
know?
it. That's
Yeah.
like that's something that I found, especially this year and loved,
hmm
is that you can go to the gym for 15 minutes and
hmm
love it and better yourself.
hmm
You can go to the gym for 45 minutes, love it and better yourself. You could do double that and do the same. As long as you're bettering yourself, you're always going to come out with a positive outcome.
100%.
And that is what it's about. Like,
Yeah, I think in terms of, it depends on what your goals are. It
Mhm.
depends on what you want to do. You know, a lot of women in general just tend to have something that they want to improve
yeah,
when they first start going in. And I think in terms of sort of the timeline of when you first start the gym to when you want to improve,
yeah,
I think it needs to be as long as you can see the progress, like not put, I was really bad for this, not put like, right, I need to be this by this point. And because if you don't reach at that point, if you don't reach that point and then you're like, oh, I didn't lose this much weight, or I don't have abs, or, you know, whatever the goal is, you're just going to get disappointed in yourself
Yep.
and sort of just
you're going
get,
to lose some motivation.
you're going to demoralize yourself for no
Yeah, I
reason.
mean, well, that's it. I mean, we're a sensitive species,
hmm
and we don't react very well to things that go badly with us, and that can be tiny.
Yeah.
And especially when you're in the gym, that tiny thing is a massive thing, really.
hmm
And how, like, when you're, I'm just going to kind of go into kind of, you've committed to the competition now.
hmm
How attentive do you need to be with like the visual aspect of yourself to keep yourself positive?
I think in terms of competing, it needs to be like there's motivation and then there's discipline. Like it doesn't, at some points the motivation isn't there because you're tired, you know, you're sore, you want to give up, and it's like, oh, you know, it's so much work over a long period of time as well. Like I did a 6-month prep. Some people do longer, some people do shorter. But no matter how long it is, it's still gonna be hell.
It's
Because
unbelievable.
because if you're feeling, you should feel okay for 3/4 of it. You know, you should be like, right, okay, let's keep going. But sometimes it gets quite monotonous, especially in terms of meals, and you know, you need to keep pushing yourself. So sometimes there's going to be points where you look at yourself and be like, I'm not making as much progress as I want.
Yeah.
But once you start looking at the photos that you've taken, and the beginning photo and the end photo are huge.
Yeah.
Like I've been looking over my prep photos, and I thought that, you know, at the start of it, that I should have been okay at that point. You know, I was like, oh, I don't have a lot of fat on me, you know, I don't have this, I don't have that, I can slim down. The reality of it, you need to be quite brutal with sort of how you need to refine your physique, essentially, in bikini, or in any sort of bodybuilding aspect. You need to kind of be like, right, this is what I need to improve. So I think the positive aspect of I'm doing great, but it also needs to be like, right, this isn't coming in. We need to hone this in now. In terms to get in time. And I think that's what I didn't do, is because I was so focused on what I had at that point, and I'd never been that lean at that point. So I was so excited. I was like ecstatic. I was like, oh my God, I've got like ab lines coming in that I've never had before and stuff like that. But looking back, I needed to do a whole lot more than what I actually did, especially for the next time I compete. It needs to be all or nothing, constantly checking everything every single day. And if something's not going right, it needs to be corrected immediately. Instead of me delaying it, because I was like, oh, well, it might take a couple days, because especially for women in terms of like periods and stuff like that, there's sort of a cycle. So sometimes you weigh a lot heavier. Which women need to take into consideration as well.
Could I ask, if you don't mind, did your diet have to change with that through prep, or was that no? You just stay the same.
It was exactly the same.
Wow.
if anything, it was difficult because there was a lot of cravings there, you know.
Yeah.
You wanted a lot more food than you could have, unfortunately. But in terms of like, there's no reason as to change that on prep.
Hmm.
Like in normal training, then it'd be like, you know, grab
Yeah.
something extra, you're feeling shitty, let's just get on with it, you know, grab whatever you need to help you get through this day. But on prep, you can't do that because them extra calories means that you're not in a deficit as much as you should be. So, say for instance, you're on a 300 calorie deficit and you have that extra bit of toast or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, you're not as much of a deficit. Not that you
Right.
should be eating toast on prep, that I didn't, but as an example, then you wouldn't be as much in a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
So it does
Well,
need to be the
100
same.
calories would be massive in
Mhm.
prep.
Mhm.
I'm estimating that as a slice of toast.
Yeah.
My Fitbit or whatever used to be my fitness pal. That was it. That was what
Yeah.
it used to be called. So, like, a very kind of honest question for you just now
Mhm.
is obviously, you know, I've signed up for the High Rocks and I spoke to you in the gym on Monday or
Yeah.
Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
And I spewed my ringer so bad outside, and I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I thought I'm not going to be able to do this. Did that happen to you when you first started? When you first started, right? You're like, this is serious. I'm going to sign up for this.
Mhm.
At any point in the start where you're like, oh no, what the fuck have I done?
I think there was a couple moments during the actual prep. I think it was
Yeah.
like midway where it's like, am I actually going to be able to get through to the point where I need to be? I started doubting, like, can I actually go fully? But at the start, it was all go. I had everything booked by the first. Actually, it was before prep that I'd booked my membership. I'd paid for my bikini. I'd paid for my heels. Everything that comes with
Yeah.
the competition. So when it came to going on prep, it was like, I need to do this.
Mhm.
I've invested so much money into this.
Yeah.
And I've said that I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it by this date. I need to be ready.
Mhm.
So I think in terms of that, there wasn't a lot of hesitant to do that because it's kind of like, I need to do it
Yeah.
now. That's why I quite like having something there to hold me accountable for what I want to do. If I'm scared or if I don't want to necessarily do it, I have something public where, say for instance, my skydive,
Mhm.
like I held a charity event and I was
Yeah.
like, right, if people sponsor me to do this, if you donate, then I will do this skydive. And it got to a couple of days beforehand, I was like, I don't know whether I can do this. But every single time I was like, no, people have donated. You have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to go through with it. And that's what the main thought was when I was up in that plane. I was like, I've raised this money. I'm going to do this regardless. You know, it's going to be shit scary.
Was this a massive fear of yours to take it? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Heights is.
Flying as well? Are you scared of planes? Because I'm not massive in planes.
I've never actually been on a plane, like.
To be fair, that's a totally stupid question, because if you're on a plane and sat on a plane and going on holiday, you're probably not going to be scared as what you'd ever be sat on a plane going up to jump back out of the plane.
Yeah, I think the sort of updates was the point in time where it was like, shit.
Mm-hmm.
My stomach dropped was when the guy got his little GoPro out.
Mm-mm.
And he was like, how are you feeling? And it's like, I'm feeling good. It's like, have a look outside. And I did. It's like, right, that's high. And I said that to him and he chuckled and he said, that's only halfway, pal. And just the stomach drop when he said that, I was like, no, you know, this can't. And it was very, very high. You could see all of the Lake District.
Yeah.
And it was it was terrifying, but I started getting like the adrenaline shakes because I was like, well, at this point, you know, as soon as he gets to that door.
I'm joking.
Yeah. At that point, once you get to the door, you can't do anything about it because even regardless of if you say no at that point, they're not going to hear you.
No.
Because the amount of noise that's around you, it quite literally sucks you out of the plane.
Really?
Like the air, I can't describe it. I would 100% do it again. 100%. Even though I'm still terrified.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. I think I'm probably not making this sound very good for the people that want to do skydiving are
No.
terrified. I can tell that sort of you were speculating about doing a skydive and stuff like that. Honestly, the views are so
Well,
worth it.
that is what I would want to do it for.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think we were recording at the time when we started talking about nature. Were we?
No,
I don't know
we
if we were.
weren't. No, we weren't.
Out in nature, it's just totally different anyway. Like
Yeah.
you do anything, you see the views, it's just fucking beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely
Lake
worth
District
it.
as well, did you do it?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
down at the bottom of the Lake District.
Oh,
So
wow.
you could see all of the Lake District. And on a good day, unfortunately, it wasn't a good day for Scotland, but you can see the Scottish mountains
Wow.
from the point where
That's
you're
incredible.
skydiving.
Fuck.
And you can see Ireland as well. And at some points, you can see the border of France. Yeah, it's France on the other side.
Yeah. That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Wow.
because you're so high
fact,
up.
yeah, I'm just like kind of visioning.
Yeah, because you're so high up. If you actually look, obviously you can't see like civilization, but like yeah, just pointing up someone's house. No, but you can see like the borders and like the landscapes
Yeah.
of where it actually is. I could actually see where I'd traveled through to come to.
No way.
Yeah, like all the
That is
lakes and stuff
amazing.
that I'd stopped off at.
That's even scarier that you see all that and then they manage to drop you on a thumbtack.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like
amazing.
How fast? How long does the dive take in total then? In general, sorry.
I mean, you're free falling for around about 10-15 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's really not that long because you're traveling quite fast. I'm not gonna lie.
182 miles an hour.
I'm unsure as to
something for human weight, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be something like that because by the time you do that, you've traveled quite far down, and then once they do like the parachute, I would say I was up in the air for max 35 minutes.
35 minutes?
40 minutes, yeah.
Oh,
and I was on the ground.
Honestly thought it'd be a lot shorter than that. That just put me off even
To
more.
be fair though, the person I had was doing tricks in the air.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was like doing like flips and stuff.
Yeah.
But he asked me whether I wanted to do it. He was the most experienced person there.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, shall we have a bit of fun with this? Shall we just do some tricks and stuff?" So I was one of the first people off the plane, and I was the last person to land on the ground.
Oh wow. Cool.
Because he was just constantly going around. So it is a lot shorter.
Yeah.
The typical skydive is a lot shorter than that. But to be fair, I'd prefer staying up.
Oh yeah, of course, you'd love it.
Yeah, it's just I took in a lot more of the views that way. And he did sort of like a trick where it was like a zero gravity thing where it almost felt like you were free falling, but you're still attached to the parachute.
Oh wow.
So
yeah, cool.
It was weird. Like he pulled up and then sort of like did a diagonal thing. So then you dropped.
Yes, okay, yeah.
Vertically down.
I see what's happened. Yeah.
So then you felt like you were free falling, but you weren't essentially. But in terms of the adrenaline, if you're seeking that sort of thing, like anything like that, the nature and stuff like that, I think that's why prep was such a big thing, because it was like I'd never done it before. And stepping on that stage as well. Yeah. Like you're not only shaken because you've got this far, but you're shaken because the adrenaline of all of it, you're just ready to go.
This is obviously totally different. I played on stage in like bad nights and in front of the school and that. And you get that little butterflies. I always used to love it. I used to just like lose myself in the music to get made fun of all the time because of its stupid long hair and whatnot. How do you feel just before you go on stage, because you are going to be judged entirely?
Weirdly enough, I thought I was going to be terrified. I thought I was going to mess up a lot because I'm quite a clumsy person, and my biggest fear was I don't wear heels a lot, and walking on stage, the sort of material that it was as well, sort of like if you slipped, you were going down, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And because I don't wear heels, I was trying to walk in a way where, like, if I did slip a little bit, I'd be able to save it. But all of them fears just went away because I was the first group
Right,
category
okay.
on
Yeah, that's
stage.
gotta help.
So it did really help.
Yeah.
I basically had no time to think. I came in, I got my hair and my makeup done. It was like 5:30 I got in on the day. By the time I'd done my hair, my makeup, my tan, it was almost time to step on stage. So then by the time I walked out, I'd then got warmed up, I got pumped up with my resistance bands. By the time I'd done that, they literally said, right, you're on stage in 5. So it was kind of like,
But yeah, just
it was literally, there was no time to think, there was no time to panic, there was no time to overthink of what could have happened. I think once you start doing that, you start making up things that could happen, but the likelihood of it happening is actually very low.
yeah.
And as long as you actually recover from it perfectly as well, even if it did go wrong, even if you did trip, like as long as you're not face planted on the floor and staying there for 10 minutes, you're okay. As long as you get back up and you strut your stuff and then you go back off like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
But I think the nervousness backstage, it actually helped because we were all in the same boat. So when I saw the other girls being really nervous, and obviously it was all of our first times because it was a first time competition, I don't know, it somehow relaxed me into thinking, right, I'm not actually the only one feeling this way.
Yeah.
So why am I feeling so nervous when everyone's feeling this way as well? So at that point, I don't know why, but I took it upon myself to sort of try and lift the mood a little bit backstage.
Oh, that's cool.
So there was music and stuff backstage, and I was asking how everyone was doing. And they're like, oh, what if I get this wrong? What if I get that wrong? They were going in complete disaster mode, like getting really anxious. And they're like, there's going to be loads of people out there. And I was like, look, you've gotten this far. You all look incredible in the bikinis that you've spent hundreds of pounds on, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And, they all did look beautiful with their hair done and stuff like that. And I was like, we need to go out and do it, and we're going to do it well. No matter what, you should be proud of what you've actually made.
What you've done.
Yeah. It's like, even if you didn't make it on stage, the amount of effort that it takes to maintain that physique, that is an achievement in itself.
Yeah, that's like, it's so true. And it must, it's so true, but it's so hard to grasp that as well, because I could never go on stage. I could look at you and Shane and think, like, wow, like I don't know how hard it is. I just kind of know how hard it must have been for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you do that, but then there's also is that inner competitor of you that you always want to do better. So how do you balance the books?
I think it was the case of, I had to go in there thinking, if I place, great. If I don't, then that's fine, because I've gotten this far. I've gotten my physique the way that I wanted it at that point. Even if I was last, then that's fine. As long as I can actually get up there, do my poses correctly, and actually have fun with it.
That's such a good approach.
Yeah, because I was so nervous at the first couple months of prep that by the time prep was over, there was no nervousness there. There was just, let's get this done and let's do it well. And let's have fun with it, because I have a tendency to start overthinking things to the point where sometimes it ruins it. It's like, you spend so much time overthinking it that it actually takes away from the experience in itself. And I did have to sort of have my family around me that were down there helping me and supporting me. They did have to say, once I found out my results as well, I was a little bit disappointed because I didn't place, but it was kind of like, at the end of the day, I know where I'm at now. the whole point of that was to see where I was in terms of the other girls, and now I know. So next time, I know to be better than the first place.
Yeah.
So I know that this person got first place for a specific reason, and I've been searching the girls that have placed well over all of the federations. It's not just WNBF,
Yeah.
but in professional circumstances as well, like the pro bodybuilders.
IFBB. Is it
Yes.
IFBB circle?
Yeah.
So like the
And
top cards, isn't it? Yeah.
even sort of the Olympia sort
Yeah.
of girls and stuff like that, looking at them and say, right, what do they have? And then sort of basing it off that, because there's a lot of, I've found that a lot of the girls that did place have a lot of flirtiness in their walk. You know, they're very, very confident.
Yeah.
Like nothing can touch what they've built on the stage. It's their stage and their stage only.
Wrong attitude, isn't it?
It's amazing to actually
Yeah.
see, because the women that go on there are so strong. And just sort of the attitude that I just had there before, where it's like, we're going to do this because we've spent so long on it now.
Yeah.
I think at that point, you've spent so long on this prep, where it's like, you need to start enjoying the experience now. And I see that in the women that come out and they strut their stuff and they come off stage beaming with a massive smile saying, I enjoyed that so much.
Yeah.
And it's not actually about the prizes anymore. It's
No.
about the actual competing and seeing how you were from the start of the competitive season. And they're like, right, this is how I look now. And this is how I looked then.
Yeah.
And sort of comparing themselves. And they're a lot happier because they're like, right, I've actually done what I wanted to do in terms of improving their own physique. It's no longer then about them comparing themselves to the other girls.
Yeah.
That's the judge's job.
Yeah.
Essentially. So
yeah, that's it's so true as well, because like I was was watching something the other day, and it was obviously just about Chris Bumstead, and it's obviously his mindset must be like, if you were to go and ask C-Bum directly, was it just last week Olympia, or was it 2 weeks
yes,
ago?
it was very soon.
When he got his fifth title, I bet you if you ask him after the adrenaline lats came away half an hour later, you happy with your physique? He'd probably say no. There's still that kind of little bit different, and that's a different dynamic. And I always think that, like, in the feminine approach to bodybuilding, that's so much more better for the overall sport, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think in terms of after you get your placement, obviously if you don't place, then you have to wait a week before they release the scorecard, so you technically know where you've placed. They also give you some constructive criticism as well alongside with it. Yeah. So they're like, right, this is where you've placed and this is why. So some of mine was that I took too long to transition into the poses.
Sorry, is that the judges' like comments that they're
yes.
So that is brilliant. So you really are getting the very good constructive criticism.
And you can even sort of go to them and ask like what their opinions are specifically as well. Like if you feel like they didn't provide enough information on say like how your physique looking overall, and you want a more specific approach, then I actually message one of them and say, you know, look, could you give me more information of what I could do better? And a lot of it was to do with the conditioning. I needed to be a lot leaner, because especially in sort of the hip area, the back area, and glutes as well, there was still more body fat than should have been. There should have been a lot more muscularity showing, which I know for next time it needs to be like really, really lean, like the leanest I've ever been.
So you're gonna have to bulk before, like kind of going kind of like that kind of long bulk to kind of get the muscles up.
So I'm not gonna bulk. I'm gonna main gain. So I don't personally believe in bulking from my personal circumstance, because I gain quite a lot of fat very easily.
Okay.
So if I was to go on a bulk, I'd just put on loads of fat, and then it's just fat to take back off again in prep. So in terms of the main gain, you can stay on your maintenance calories
Mm-hmm.
and you can still build muscle. And then you can sort of do like almost a body recomp where it's like you're building muscle, but you're staying the same weight because then you're losing the fat as well.
Yes.
So basically what my aim is my competition level physique that I had.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I want to be at the start of prep, realistically,
Wow.
for 2025. So I need to be around about that leanness.
Yeah.
So then when I start prep, I'm like, right, I'm already off a
Yeah.
better start than what I was originally. I need to be a lot leaner when I start prep.
Mm-hmm.
So then by the time I get to competition level, there's not a lot of fat on me. Like
Yeah.
I need to be so lean where if I just pick something up, you can see the vascularity, you can
See
see
the striation
yeah.
coming through. Yeah.
Yeah, that's essentially where I
Wow.
want to be.
That is very, very hard, but very admirable.
Yeah,
That's so 2024 was a big year for you.
definitely. Yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
be a year of building and a year
Building.
of exploration as well, because
Yeah.
I quite like the outdoors, and sort of just trying to take the time as well. Where if I was to do 2024 prep, I'd literally need to start now preparing for it, and for where I want to be in terms of novice,
Yeah.
I don't have enough time to build muscle
Mm-hmm.
from now until say January to then start prep again. Like I really need to build a lot more muscle to be competitive in a novice state.
Yeah. Which is mad when I just remembered that you've only been seriously training for 2 years.
Yeah. Realistically, you need to be training for a lot longer.
That just hit me in the head. It's just like, yeah. You're only, wow, that is very impressive. Because I was just thinking, oh God, I've been training for 10 years, and it takes me probably another 3 years to even get to the stage of thinking, could I go ahead and do it? Wow.
100%, yeah.
Yes, you have worked hard.
It does take a lot of preparation, and realistically, I should have been training for another 2-3 years before even stepping on stage. Just to build sort of the density that I needed.
Yeah, but that's like brilliant for confidence going forward, though.
Yeah.
Like as you say, you've got the constructive criticism now, and you've learned how to even take constructive criticism, because some people don't take constructive criticism very well. Yeah. Yes. And so you've already got kind of like the stepping stone. Should 100%. You say? Yeah.
I think it's more for the experience as well, because the more you get experience on stage, I was to and fro between the Supernaturals, which occurred in October, and they just had the Worlds for WNBF literally just yesterday.
Right, okay, yeah.
So that occurred in Seattle. So if I was to have done a further prep and go into Supernaturals, that would have been a lot of the way I was in July when it happened. I didn't have a lot to play with at that point. There was not a lot of calories. I was doing almost 2 hours worth of cardio every single day on top of 7 days a week weight training. Yeah. The carbs were not there. I was only on like 20 grams of carbs. Fats as well, I was only about 25 grams of fat as well, which if anyone knows on keto, if you go on keto and you're low on carbs, you have to be high in fat. So then you have something to actually rely on.
Yeah, but keto becomes your energy source. Is it the fat becomes your prime energy source? And
yes.
Keto, sorry. Yeah.
Yes. So, I didn't have that, which is why I felt pretty shit at the end of it, because it was like the calories that I was on at the start of prep were not great whatsoever.
Right.
So I needed to sort of compensate for the fact that I didn't work on my calories at the start.
Yeah.
Like my maintenance is around about just under 1,500 calories.
Right, okay.
And that's to maintain my weight. So if I wanted to lose fat, I'd need to go under that. Yeah. And ideally for anyone that's starting a prep, you need to be over 2,000 calories automatically at the start of prep.
Wow, so that's a big gap.
Yeah, it was very difficult. So that's why I'm kind of using the year to build muscle, but also build the calories as well. Yeah. So I have a lot more to play on.
Yeah, you got a brilliant base to go forward and take on your goals. That's absolutely amazing. So like 20 grams of carbs Oh,
Yeah.
I've done like a intermittent fasting diet that actually worked quite well. I only done it for maybe about a month,
Hmm.
and by the end of that, I tried going on zero carbs.
Ooh.
And well, I say I never got down to zero. I
Yeah.
just couldn't. But I specifically remember being down in Newcastle with Sass,
Hmm.
and we are going to go for sushi.
Hmm.
And I can't explain it. I didn't want the meat. I
Hmm.
just wanted the rice.
Hmm.
All I wanted was to eat rice.
Yeah.
The craving is real.
Yeah. No, definitely. At the end of prep, I was sort of going in shops. This was really bad, but I was going in shops and seeing that I'm craving at that point, and because I couldn't eat it,
Yeah.
I would buy it and I stored it in this treat box.
Oh, no.
So by the end of prep, I had a massive treat box full of sugary sweets, full
Yeah.
of chocolate, full of literally everything that just would make you go into a meltdown because of how much sugar is in it.
Yeah.
But at the end of prep, once
Mhm.
I came out of the competition, India, my sister, bought me a cupcake. So I had a little cupcake
Oh, lovely.
to a little celebrate. But the thing is, I looked at them sweets and I started feeling ill
Really?
because I was like, I don't want them sweets because I'd been on that diet for such a long
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
that I didn't actually want that. So I had some rice cakes before I went out for
Yeah.
burgers and fries. So just as similar as just what you just said there, like in terms of once you come out of prep, you really need to be careful because you'll make yourself ill.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, how is it coming out of prep? Like, in general, like
Mhm.
that must be like how are you with food coming out? Like you obviously looked at treats and you're like, oh no, like
Yeah.
you went for a big burger
Yeah.
after prep.
Yeah.
Was it nice?
It was good, yeah, but I felt quite ill after it. Like
Yeah.
the amount of calories that was in it, and because it was so filling, I actually had to go on like a 2 mile walk afterwards because I was
Seriously,
like,
just
I
burn
need
it
to,
off a little bit.
yeah,
Were you like
because
spiking?
I don't know what it was. I just felt ill. I just felt sick and I wanted to throw up. So it was kind of like it wasn't ideal. I'd just
Yeah.
eaten all this food. I'd spent
Yeah,
all
yeah,
this
yeah,
money
yeah.
and I was like, I'm not throwing this back up. So let's just go for a walk. But in terms of prep afterwards, what I should have done is different to what I actually did. So what you should do is sort of like detransition out of it and slowly come out of prep. So
Yeah.
basically just essentially carry on what you were eating in terms of prep, calories and stuff like that, and slowly add it on so you're not piling the weight back on.
Yeah.
I went on a little bit of a binge session
Okay.
for a while.
Okay.
It happened for like a couple weeks where
Yeah.
I was eating whatever I want, whenever I want,
Yeah.
regardless of feeling hungry or not. Like if the craving was there, I would eat it. So I had to tone that back in a little bit because I'd started because obviously once you come back from not being on a lot of carbs
Yeah.
to then eating a lot of carbs, a lot of the water weight and food weight goes back on.
Yeah.
So I was 9 stone 11 on the first, like when I weighed myself just before comp.
Wow. Yeah.
So then I went straight up to like 10.5 stone in like a week.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think that's why sometimes when people say I haven't, like I weighed myself yesterday and I weighed this.
A stone and a half in a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
because
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the amount of water that you had
Yeah. Of
to,
course.
like I didn't drink a lot on comp day. Like
Mhm.
it literally needed to be sips. And I had one rice cake the entire day until after the comp
Yeah.
itself.
Wow.
So you didn't eat a lot throughout that day. So obviously when I dehydrated myself, there wasn't a lot of water in me, there wasn't a lot of food in me. So at that point, that's why I was weighing that much.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start drinking and eating, immediately, you start bloating a little bit because of the carbs that are in your system and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So when people are saying, oh, I weigh this much, I haven't lost weight. And it's like, well, have you fully dehydrated yourself and have you fully, how do I put this?
It's hard. I know what you mean, but it's hard to get the words out on that one as well.
Yeah, like you need to know that you're fully empty
Yeah.
on the morning and fully dehydrated to know what your true weight is,
Mhm.
because if you don't, you're basically accounting for water and food weight that's already
Yeah.
there as well. So I think the scales for someone that's not on prep,
Yeah.
you know, like what I've recommended to some people is just to like do it once a week, just to
Mhm.
make sure that you're on the right track,
Yeah.
but not so obsessive where it's like, right, this day I'm 10 stone 2, this day I'm 10 stone 5. Why is that? It's like,
Yeah.
well, you might have drank a little bit more, you might have done something else, you know, you might have put a little bit more salt or something, I don't know.
Well,
Like,
salt's a huge one, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so many variables that you could say, well, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you walked a little bit more?
Yeah.
You know, so in order to actually get your true weight, you need to be so consistent where all of them variables are the same.
Yeah.
So then if it's like, you will know whether you're dropping weight or going up in weight, but there is still sort of things, especially as a woman in terms of your period, stuff like that,
Yeah.
you retain water so easily
Mhm.
that immediately you can go up in a couple of pounds,
Yeah.
like from one day to the next, and it's not fat whatsoever. And that's what
No.
that's why I need to say to like people, I need to sort of calm them down a little bit and say, it's not fat.
Yeah.
You're still doing really well. You know, you're on track. You could have just drank a little bit more because you're a little bit dehydrated, you know, like focus on how you're feeling, focus on how you're looking, you know,
Yeah.
and monitor yourself every so often, but don't make it obsessive to the point where it doesn't help.
Yeah. I was gonna say could you just do me a favor? See
Mhm.
the little light, the little black switch behind you? Can you just flick one of them on? There we go. Now we got lights, and that's better.
Yeah.
You're
I love
you're
that.
kind of panning out for me a bit. I just didn't want to stop the flow.
I'm all in black as well, so it doesn't help.
I did see the silver headphones. um, yeah. So like, sorry, what were we talking about there?
We were talking about prep and the variations in weight and how things can alter your weight, sort of
Yeah.
in
So,
terms of water
obviously,
weight and
like
stuff.
hormones for women as well would be
Yeah.
massive, and that must be tough. Like
Yeah.
double tough.
Yeah. So not a lot of women actually take into consideration, like say for instance, one day you walk in the gym and you bench a certain weight and you get a certain reps, and then 2 weeks later you bench that same weight and you can barely do it. You feel
Yeah.
weak, you can't do it. You know, we need to consider that we're on a 28-day hormonal cycle,
Yeah.
whereas men, they're on a 24-hour
Yeah.
hormonal cycle. So in terms of the way that we feel will be over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So a week, like say for instance, someone could be feeling really good, really strong one week,
Mhm.
and then really, you know, they
Yeah.
can't
Yeah. Yeah.
actually push that weight the next
Yeah.
week. I think it's up to the person. I've been asked this several times where it's like, should you work out on your period?
That was exactly where I was gonna go.
Yeah. It's up to yourself. Like if anyone listening to this wants to work on their period, you know, it really depends on the period. It depends on
Yeah.
how you're feeling, stuff like that. Me, the way that I train isn't for everyone. I go in regardless of how I feel.
Yeah.
Like,
You got very like,
yeah.
ow. It's a lot harder than meant to.
I felt that right through the leg.
Right, I know. You got a very strong mind
Yeah.
for that. But that must be hard, those two. Like, just to push, like, it must be very hard.
It's difficult because there's a line of like what's okay and what's unsafe.
Yeah.
I push that line quite consistently.
Yeah.
Where I come in and I'm throwing up in Sparta bathroom toilet because
Whoa.
you know I'm feeling so bad. Not a lot of people know that I get migraines as well.
Right. Okay.
So I get cluster migraines, which, funnily enough, was a topic in Sparta not that long ago. I was speaking to someone where cluster migraines were mentioned.
Okay.
And it's not actually a common thing that people know. It's really it's an actual medical condition where basically the migraine can continue for a long period of time. And a migraine isn't like a headache.
It's
I
not
don't
a
know.
headache.
I don't know. Do you experience migraines?
I get eye migraines and I
Right.
go blind.
Yeah.
So I don't really
So
get
the
the
aura
pain.
ones.
Yeah, I don't really get like the pain of like a physical migraine, but I get like the really. It feels like I've got goggles
Mhm.
and like the water levels rise and then I just go
Mhm.
blind eventually.
Yeah. So in terms of migraines, in terms of cluster migraines, they can last between a day to weeks to potentially even months, depending on
Wow.
the certain person. So mine can last between 3 and 4 days, where I get a migraine and it eases off a little bit,
Mhm.
but you can still feel it in the back.
Yeah.
And then it turns it up again, and then it goes back off again, and then on. It's sort of like never actually going away.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's not very pleasant. But as I said, different pain tolerances, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I go in regardless because the majority of the time, when I come out of the gym, I actually feel better than when I started.
Yeah.
Because like when I focus on the reps, stuff like that, I'm not actually thinking about what's happening with my head and what's happening with my body in terms of pain. I'm thinking of it like, right, how do I feel this in my chest in terms of the muscles or my back, trying to squeeze it as much as possible to
Yeah.
try and actually
Yeah.
build as much
build,
muscle as possible. So with the question in mind, should you go to the gym on your period? It really depends on how you're feeling. I go every single time, regardless. I just am more aware
Yeah.
that you need to sort of slow down a little bit.
Yep.
You can still do the same reps, but if you're not feeling it, lower the weight
Yeah.
and do a little bit more.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with lessening the weight and try and get as much as physically possible, because at
Exactly.
least you're still there.
Yeah.
At least you're still doing something. Even if you can't go to the gym, and some people feel guilty about that. It's like, oh, I missed the gym, It's not the end of the world
No.
if you miss a gym session.
No.
And I've done it several times where it's like, I can't go to the gym, I will do a home workout instead. Or even if I don't do a home workout, I substitute it in some other way.
Yeah.
So even if that's a run, even if it's doing a little bit more steps that day, if you're not feeling it on your period, just go lie down. Take some medication and just take that time off, because your body will thank you for it.
That's it. Your body always grows back stronger.
100%.
It's the most magnificent thing in the universe is our human bodies, and they're adapt to change and rebuild and whatnot.
Yeah.
A really interesting thing that I just kind of caught on there when you're about training though, form and squeezing. How vital is that when for me when I go to the gym? I try to, obviously, like anybody does, try and do everything with the correct form. I try and feel that mind muscle connection as much as I can.
Yeah.
But I'm very bad at forgetting to feel it. Again, this is like leading into prep, or just general, just like you and Shane, are you like, is your training like focus, like you need to feel that real pure connection all the way through through the reps and whatnot?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
In general training, you need to, well, you don't need to, but in general, what I do is I used to focus more on weight than I did on form.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I wasn't making as much progress because I was feeling more sore the next day, and then it would sort of transpire into the next day, and you wouldn't be able to push as much because you're sore, stuff like that. Now I'm doing more hypertrophy work again, thanks to Shane. Shane is the main person that sort of, even with my form, if my form's off, that's why your spotter's really good.
Yeah.
Or even if you're unsure about your form, just grabbing someone in the gym. If I'm in the gym and you're like, I don't know whether my form's that great, just pulling someone, as long as they're on a break, don't interrupt them in the middle of the set. I'm happy to, sort of spot them or see whether their form's good, because what I've noticed as well in prep is once you start lessening your body fat, you start noting a little bit more of which side's the stronger side and the more dominant side.
I've never thought of that.
So in terms of strength, my right side is stronger.
Okay.
In terms of how it looks, it's my left.
Wow.
So I have more striations on my left side, and I have more muscle. You can actually tell between the two sides
Yeah.
which one I focus on more.
Yeah.
Because even though I'm stronger on this side, I'm trying to compensate on this side.
So the penny just dropped for me. This is why we talk about symmetry.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It just makes perfect sense.
Symmetry is
just
so important.
Yeah.
Because if you're off one side, it doesn't look natural. And that's one of the main things that they judge is how well you've trained and how well the symmetry looks. Like you need to be equal.
Like a butterfly.
Yeah, equal all around. So it is massively, massively important in the gym, regardless of whether you're doing a prep or not. If you want your body to look equal, you need to make sure that one hand, say if you're doing bench, one hand or one arm isn't going up further, or sort of, there's two different ways, like up vertically or up horizontally. So if you're squint in terms of the bar, you can be working two different muscles at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
So on one side, you could be working more your tricep because you're in one position. Yeah. And then on the other side, you could be working more your chest because of the certain angle. So in terms of form, it's really, really important to get it right. Slow it down if you have to. Put the weight down if you have to, and just focus on just slowly going down. And most of the time, I actually close my eyes, because when you close your eyes, you take out one of the senses as well. So once you close your eyes, you can actually focus more. It looks ridiculous, probably,
you're totally right, though.
But you're closing your eyes, so you're not seeing who's looking at you, so it doesn't really matter. But once you close your eyes, you can actually visualize or try to visualize what muscle you're working. I'm actually doing the little pose at the moment, which is...
so is that with the bench. That's like throwing arm, elbow one. It looks like I'm about to give somebody a people's elbow.
But yeah, in terms of the form, it's really, really important, because if you don't do it equally, you will gain more muscle on one side. Over time, I do have to say, if you do it once, you're not going to grow a massive lat just from one time. But in terms of like, if you're not doing it consistently the same, it will become unbalanced at some point.
I'm bad for that. It's weird for like bench press. I'm okay-ish at. Stick me on an incline dumbbell press, and I'm terrible. Like I have to kind of like do the angle to take that exaggeration away, or else my left side will just drop. And it just can't get that weight back up at the same rate and whatnot. It is hard. Yeah,
it is. And I have to say that every single gym session, there's always something that needs to be corrected. It's not always perfect. Like if you see me in the gym and it's like, oh, she's doing well, trust me, at one point I've either hit my head, almost tripped, failed on every single session, and like just... there's multiple things that can go wrong as long as you try and push through it. And I do the thing where I'm unbalanced as well, like especially on the shoulder press. If anything goes above my head, I struggle to keep it equal. Because as I've said, my right side's stronger. So when I'm pushing up, my left one's lagging behind, and it always does. So that's why I have to constantly remind myself and be like, right, let's not get the ego involved. You need to lower the weight so then we can actually get this right, because the next time you compete, you need to be equal. And if I'm not equal, it will show.
It will show,
It will show.
Especially after, as you say, kind of a long, steady growth period. So, and that again obviously highlights back in the prep when the weight isn't so much important. It is that you're making sure that you're doing everything absolutely on point. The phrase I would say that kind of is, isn't it? That's really good. We've had a really good episode, but you're not going to get away with some questions, too.
Okay.
Is there anything before we want the questions that you want to say go over? Because we've got loads of time. Because I'm really enjoying this chat. We've never had to stop once.
I think I did have some notes. Hold on.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
Because before this podcast actually started, I was talking about this to quite a few girls that I have on social media. It's like,
Okay, yeah,
right,
cool.
what's your perspective on it, and how do you feel in terms of, especially as we said earlier on, the intimidation in the gym and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
And sort of the anxiety that comes with it and the judgment.
Yeah.
I think in terms of, we need to realize that everyone starts at the same point. Everyone's a beginner.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't know everything, even if they're doing something wrong or what you perceive as wrong, doesn't give you the right to go up to that person and say, you're doing it wrong. It looks bad or
Yeah.
whatever. You're not doing it right. Because then that person could be like, oh, and it knocks their confidence.
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't go up to anyone, or I wouldn't go up to anyone unless they asked, or unless it's dangerous to them.
Yeah.
So if they're on bench and they're about to fail and they're out of joint and something's gonna snap, I will jump in then.
Yeah.
But if they're out of joint and stuff like that, I'm not gonna say anything.
No.
Because it's not my place to say.
No.
They're coming in to train. You don't know what their day's been like, and you don't know what their purpose of the gym is.
Yeah.
Some people just come in to just do a bit of exercise, feel a little bit better, and walk out. They're not coming in to do a full Chris Bumstead style exercise workout and then come out barely walking because you've just done a brutal leg day. Not everyone likes that. They just do it for their own mental health.
I'd love to jump in there. You absolutely hit the friggin' nail on the head there, because that was me earlier in the year. I only, when I was going to the gym back in I would say kind of July, August time, I was not bothered at all what I was doing, what form I was doing, what weight I was doing. The specific goal of getting in the gym was just to get me out the house, to get me into a routine, so that, and I knew that I could kind of keep on going for the day. And it's so true, isn't it? You don't know why people are there, and you don't know what, as you say, what kind of day they've had or anything. And the last thing people want is anybody coming up to them.
It's the judgment.
Yeah, it's going, the fuck are you doing that for?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not nice. Nice. It's a very good point.
Yeah,
very good point.
No, definitely. In terms of sort of the comparisons of between the men as well.
Yeah.
With the weights, we've got to say about the hormonal aspect as well.
100%.
In terms of the testosterone levels and stuff like that, realistically, a woman is not going to bench the same as a 16-year-old woman isn't going to bench the same as a 16-year-old man.
No.
Right? So I've seen someone come in and bench 65 kilograms straight off the bat, right? And that was a male. I've been training for several years and my PR is 62.5.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to immediately go, oh, well, I should quit now because they've just immediately done the bench.
And that's that.
Because there's so many variables in that. There's their weight, there's their height, there's the testosterone levels as well.
100%.
What you've eaten that day as well, if you've eaten at all, or if you've eaten certain things as well, in terms of when you go to the gym, it needs to be full of carbs, so then you've got the energy for it.
As you just said, what you eat for your hormones. So it's a massive variable. Again, sorry, I just interrupted on you. Sorry.
No, it's just in general. So I think the comparison part, I'm constantly told this little phrase that comparison's the thief of joy. So that's something that I have to keep going over and over in my head, because as soon as I pull myself up and say, oh, that person's legs look way better than mine. And it's like, okay, right, you're thinking this, but what can you realistically do about it?
Yeah.
You can either think about it and get insecure about it, or you can just go with look back at what you've done, your achievements, and you will see a progress automatically in it.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it's physical or actually mental.
Mental, yeah.
Because even if someone looks the same between a month, they could have improved their form. They could have went up in weight. there's so many things that could have changed in that month. Like, you're not going to turn into a completely different person overnight. And that's something that I had to actually say to myself consistently, whereas like, this is going to take time. You're going to see a pattern of it rather than a complete transformation. And I think that comes from these type of videos where it's like, get abs in 7 days or stuff like that. It's unrealistic to think that you're going to get abs. And I was that person to think I'm going to get abs at the end of this 7 days.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, you know, even if you do the 7 days and you feel great afterwards, it's like, well, okay, shall we continue then? If you want to continue, then great. Then you'll build the muscle of the abs because you're doing the ab exercise. But in order to actually show them abs, then the body fat over the abs needs to lessen, essentially.
100%.
And another thing as well with women and stomach fat, I have a lot of women that have came up to me specifically and said, I cannot get rid of this lower bit of the stomach, right? And if you look at the female anatomy, there's naturally a bit of fat, it is body fat, over your reproductive organs. And that's because we were essentially made for carrying a baby. So naturally, we're going to have that part there. And there is some women that genetically have flatter stomachs. That's genetics. You know, even me in prep, I still had that. You know, no matter how lean you get, unless you get to like 5-6% body fat,
IFBB.
That's a little bit different because you're so lean that there's not actually a lot of fat on you regardless anyway. But in terms of the average woman going to the gym, they're going to have that lower bit of stomach fat because it's natural. And some people are going to have more prominent abs. Some people are going to have less prominent abs. You know, I've seen a lot of female competitors not actually have a lot of abs there. Like, they're not like,
I know what you mean.
They're not actually like protruding out, say. Like, they're not actually
like the
bricks. It doesn't have to be like that. As long as you're happy with yourself, then that's all that really matters.
100%. And it's such a hard thing to grasp and like learn and kind of keep a hold on. And again, that must, I'm not one to phase this interview completely, obviously, on the female thing, but it must be that much harder in a very dysmorphic world. Would that be the way to say that?
It's very sort of prominent that women tend to compare to idols, essentially, in terms of people that they would like to be, but they're not taking into consideration their genetics and what's actually natural. That's not natural to be that lean, because a lot of women that are that lean don't have periods. They don't have an actual natural cycle. It all goes because your body's in survival mode. It's essentially going, hold up, wait a minute, what are you doing? This isn't natural. We need to get you up to a certain weight so we can actually
get you going. Well, I know, this is a total swing of the change, but I don't know if you've listened to the podcast, but obviously when I was struggling earlier in the year, like sex, libido, and ED was a massive factor. Because I'd gotten to the stage that I think I'd gone like 4 days without eating. And then, as you say, survival mode kicks in. And the last thing, it was weird for my mind because my mind almost wanted to think that way. But then it was just like, nope, there's nothing. So it really is, it must be quite extreme at that level.
I think in terms of relationships as well, you just said it yourself there, with prep and around anything that sort of you're going to get a little bit leaner and you're going to get to the point where it starts affecting your social life. I think a lot of people, I've had to have this conversation with people that want to compete or want to get to that lean. It's like, what I wanted to know at the start and compared to what I know now, it's completely different. Like the things that I've learned, it's like I feel naive compared to how I am now, essentially.
100%.
The preparation for it is so much more than what you think.
But do you think, not think, you're saying you feel like you could look back and think I was quite naive?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's, because I think, like, just personally, I think like going to the gym that's a life lesson you get out of the gym anyway, because you are bettering yourself, and there's that constant you versus you.
Yeah.
Also you versus them, also you versus environment, because it's a totally unnatural environment to be putting yourself in. That obviously people find it quite hard to get into the gyms and whatnot.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry, I was just leading off there a little tangent
absolutely.
again. So like, should you have done more research?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I did do quite a lot of research into the posing side of it.
Okay, yeah.
So the posing side is really, really important. I would say it's almost as important as your entire prep in terms of the diet, in terms of your training. Because say, for instance, you work 6-7 months on a physique and you get so lean, and then the posing doesn't show how lean you are, or you make your waist look a little bit blockier, or you don't look as wide in the lats, say for men's physique.
Yeah.
Just in terms of that, like if you don't pose as well as you could have, there could be someone that's a little bit less leaner than you, but could put the twist in their physique to make them look leaner than they actually are.
Wow, yeah.
So then the comparisons between you and them, even though you technically are leaner in body fat percentage, they look a lot better than you because of the way that they're standing. So I think in experience, there does need to be a lot of preparation in it, like prep for prep, essentially.
Fail to prepare to fail.
Absolutely.
Is that
absolutely, yeah. So in terms of like bikini in general, if someone's wanting to get into bikini competitions and stuff like that, they need to realize that it's going to, one, be very, very expensive.
Yeah.
Like if you're not willing to spend money, bikini competitions are probably not your thing.
Right, okay.
Realistically, you're going to have to travel.
Yeah.
For quite a lot in general for the competition itself, if you're wanting posing sessions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's your bikini, there's your heels, there's potential jewelry involved as well, because you can wear jewelry to sort of show off certain aspects. Your hair, your makeup, your tan.
Tanning must be quite expensive.
I think it was around about 60.
But yeah.
But the thing is, I would rather pay that 60 than go for a fake tan that you apply yourself and it's patchy, it's not the right shade, because these people are professionals.
Yeah.
They know how you're going to look on stage. The stage lighting as well, it whitens you out so much that if you don't get dark enough, it won't show the striations or the muscle the way that you want it to.
Yeah.
So they do like an actual spray where you stand in the thing and they spray you. So the day before your comp, you get sprayed, like a pre-spray.
Yeah.
And then on the morning, you get another second layer of tan. So you're dark.
Everywhere. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
So for bikini, obviously it's up to you. But because you're wearing something that's so fitted, you have to not have any sort of marks or anything.
Yeah.
Because you're also judged on your tan.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So there's the muscularity part of it, there's the posing part of it, and there's your presentation part of it as well.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying there's so much more to just the prep.
Yeah.
Because the competition in itself is another sort of
ball game.
Yeah. It's another league in itself. Trying not to get stressed, trying not to walk too much on stage day as well. Yeah. Because if you do, there's certain individuals with salt as well, lack of salt, you start shaking to the point where you won't actually be able to perform to your best.
Really?
Yeah, because
Sorry, I'm really learning
the
this.
lack of carbs that you have, you don't have anything to actually keep you full and keep you
And going. Yeah.
keep you going. So you're essentially just running on empty.
Empty.
So when you go on stage, it's more difficult than like if you see someone posing, trust me, like there's been months of work go into this, and even then it hurts.
Yeah.
Like the sort of positions that you have to be in,
Yeah.
it's not natural. It's uncomfortable. You have to stay in it. You have to tense everything.
Mhm.
You have to brace your core as well.
Yeah.
And especially with women, they're in heels. So it's a lot more difficult
Wow.
than just posing.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. Like when I got off stage, like the tan was actually melting off me.
Really?
Yeah, because the stage lighting and because it's so hot on the stage.
Yeah.
That you need to try and cool yourself down a little bit, because if you don't, and then you have your comparisons afterwards, because you have your individual routine and then comparisons.
Yeah.
So if you are having your tan and like it melts off to the point where there's like streaks of sweat and stuff like that, sometimes it can actually not show your physique to the best level.
Could it be a little bit darker than the actual lighting that's kind of there, wouldn't, or vice versa?
Yeah.
No.
So basically, if you try and wipe it off and stuff like that, you're going to be white
Yeah.
under on certain points,
On
and
certain
then
points,
not so much. One of the things that I did wrong on the day was when I went for my makeup, they had leather chairs.
Yeah.
Right. This is why in prep, in competitions, in anything in general, prepare for everything, regardless of whether you think it's going to happen or not. Because I sat on the chair and I was in the chair getting my makeup done for about 40 minutes. I stood up, and because it was warm in there, and like when when you sit on a leather chair, you stick.
Yeah. I used to have leather sofas.
Yeah. So when you stick to the chair, and especially because the night before, you're not supposed to get any water on you, you're not supposed to sweat, because if you do, it'll come off. You're not supposed to shower.
My God, this sounds so hard.
You're not supposed to wash your hands. So in terms of like, obviously when you went to the toilet, I'd use sanitizer on the palms, but you wouldn't be able to get it on the top of your hands, because then it would rub off.
Yeah.
So basically my experience in the hotel room has a white bed, so I couldn't sleep in it for the first 2 nights because I was there over the weekend.
Yeah.
The show was on the Sunday, so I was on the floor in a sleeping bag, so I wouldn't get hot, I wouldn't rub it off, and it wouldn't go on anything white. So
fucking hell.
Yeah. So when I went on that chair, I'd done everything to prepare for my tan to look good. I was like, right, I've not sweated, I've not rubbed anything off, all is well. I stand up. I stand up, and you can see the lines on the back of my legs. Like, the tan stripped off.
It came off.
Yeah. And the tan was on the actual chair itself.
Seriously.
Yeah. So I had to account for that, and they were like, yeah, the tan's come off the back of your legs. It didn't fully come off.
Yeah.
But like, if you've ever like self-tanned before, like there's a first layer where if you wipe it off, it comes off quite dark, but then there's a second layer where it won't come off as easily.
Right, okay.
It was the first layer that came off, which was the darkest layer.
Yeah.
Which is the layer that I needed ideally. Yeah. So then I had to get resprayed, but it didn't look as dark.
Right.
Because the other bit had already sunk in. So then there was a little bit of a mismatch on the back of my legs, and you can actually see it in the back of my photo. In the photos of my back shot, you can tell where I'd sat.
Where you'd sat on the chair.
And where it stripped off, because the back of my legs, my hamstrings look lighter than the rest of my body does.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, in terms of prep, in terms of any sort of competition in general, it needs to be like you need to prepare for everything. Wow. So realistically, I should have had something there. Like I had a robe, so I didn't have to put anything hot on.
Yeah.
So I should have put that on to then prevent the rubbing of that. Like, if anything, it would have rubbed off a little bit on my robe, but that didn't really matter.
Yeah.
But in terms of that in general, just thinking about everything, because then there's your hair as well. Your hair is a massive part of it. Quite a lot of women like to flick it because it's like a flaunty thing, it's a flirty thing.
Yeah.
It's a sign of competence and confidence.
Yeah.
So a lot of women have it down. Some people have it up. It really depends on how you're feeling and how you want to look on stage. But yeah, there's so much more to a competition. Like, I had to have everything wrote down of what I needed, because there's also the membership and your show. You have to sign up to the actual show itself.
Yeah.
So you have a membership for the company, which is WNBF, which allows you to partake in the competitions. But then you have to sign up to the competition individually, because they have different competitions in different sort of months. So then that's an extra expense. And then when you factor in, you have to get a hotel, your food.
I was going to say, food.
Food is expensive.
Yeah.
Like, especially stuff that needs to be high protein. So chicken, eggs, stuff like that. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
So once you get to the point of calculating all of that, it just, there's so much that you need to be like, right, I need to get on top of this, especially if you want a posing coach as well. Posing coaches are expensive.
Yeah.
Like £55 to £70 per hour.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, 70 quid an hour.
Yeah, depending on who you go with.
Wow.
And obviously, the more experienced, the better. So if you go for a more experienced one, you could potentially be paying even more depending on what level you're on.
Yeah.
So I was quoted around about 65 per hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do that. So what I did was I just searched on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I took references from the live streams. And
you're self-taught? You say
essentially, yeah.
All right, I didn't even know that. I was about to tell you into that story with how you went up and found your own little coach.
Yeah, no.
The
only coach that I had was Shane. So in terms of nutrition, in terms of prep, in terms of posing, in terms of training in general, because your coach generally tells you how to train, all of that was Shane.
Yeah, which
every single bit of it
is surround yourself with good people,
100%.
and good things will happen. It's something that I would say about Shane anyway, because he's a brilliant, smart. Like I've said on here, he's smart, smart man with just good energy.
Yeah. Surrounding yourself with people that also will understand and be a little bit more sympathetic towards you. Like, yes, you've chosen to do it, so it's kind of like there's a difference between being a little bit more aware of the situation and like...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so just surrounding yourself with people that are actually willing to support you through it, because it's going to get to the point where sometimes you're going to question yourself, sometimes you're going to be low, you know, especially if you want to go out socially as well.
Yeah.
Like, going out socially, the drinking aspect...
Are you a drinker at all, or are you?
No, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything like that. So, in terms of the social aspect, it wasn't as bad, because a lot of things that I like to do are outdoors anyway.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really as bad, because then all I needed to do was factor in my meals throughout the day, just prep them in a little tub and take them with me.
Yeah.
But in terms of anyone that's got a massive social life, like really busy on the weekends, heavy drinker sort of thing, it needs to be accounted for that, you know, things are going to change, especially in relationships as well.
Yeah.
There's going to be times where you're going to irrationally think, and you're going to get annoyed at simple little things.
Yeah.
Especially your nose as well, like your sense of smell could detect any sort of food within like miles.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, it's very just totally off topic,
Uh-huh.
a really weird little research thing that I was doing with sharks and olfactory bulbs and things
Go for it.
is that that was pretty much it. I won't go into that sort of thing. But
All right.
how aligning humans are as well. There's a massive misconception about humans of how good our sense of smell is.
Okay.
And it was kind of going on that. Sorry. So I'm just obviously in a calorie deficit.
Uh-huh.
It must be
Yeah.
super duper duper duper.
Yeah.
Like I can smell I know if Sass is making it's something that Sass makes really well, like a nice or tomato soup.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll smell that from outside
Mm-hmm.
before I even came in the house.
Yeah.
Is that like kind of
Yeah,
what you're going to do?
it's-
Just like don't.
Yeah, almost like a food radar. You can
Yeah.
tell when people are cooking and stuff like that. And it really depends on how set you are on
Yeah.
prep and your food and stuff like that, because there's times that I really, really struggled with the smell of food. Like in my work, there's consistently takeaways at the weekends, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's constantly treats, there's chocolate, there's cake everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you cannot escape it. And at some points, I really struggled with like looking at it. And sometimes in your mind, you start convincing yourself that one would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or if two would be okay, it'd be like, oh, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I can just work it off,
Yeah.
But when you start getting into that mindset and justifying one in prep, you're just going to dig yourself a hole.
Yeah.
Once you taste one, you're going to want more.
You can't make mistakes in prep.
Mhm.
Essentially, kind of. Well, or you can make mistakes, but they're hard to rectify. As you said, you have to be immediate with them.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And just on that, just one of the questions that was actually sent to me across this, you're kind of on the boat. How is your relationship with food kind of specifically now, coming out of prep and kind of getting back in and then kind of thinking back into prep? Is there kind of foods now that you think I just couldn't go near that now? Are you sickened yourself of anything or?
I mean, I can control myself a lot more than I did literally just coming out of prep. Like just coming out of prep, it was the case of I would willingly eat anything, it doesn't matter whether it was sweet or savory. Like if I'm hungry, I would eat it, sort of thing. My relationship with food prior to that, I wasn't really very consistent with my meals. I wasn't consistent at all in terms of calories, in terms of protein, in terms of, as I've said before, my maintenance calories really weren't a lot for the start of prep. For a 6-month prep, 1,500 calories is nothing.
Nothing.
Considering once you get
6 months.
Yeah,
that's
once you get down to the final last month and you need to start making like decisions where it's like, right, we need to lower the calories a bit more or put a little bit more cardio in, like regardless of which one it is. It was cardio for me. So I was in a cardio calorie deficit. So it was I was on maintenance calories, but I was using the cardio to then technically go into a deficit.
Yeah.
But later on in prep, I had to start playing with my calories and saying, right, I have to cut this bit out, I have to cut that bit out, it's not necessary. At the end, well, I would say about halfway through, it was literally only protein, essentially.
Wow, yeah.
So by the end of it, I was literally eating, well, a couple of days beforehand, there was sausages and there was like white fish. And that was pretty much all I was eating.
Oh, no.
For 3 meals a day and protein shake as well. So it was literally just protein dominated.
Well, that's like I said before. I know that I don't want to say that I know that I couldn't, because you should never say that you can't do anything. But I struggle with like my gag reflex with chicken specifically.
Yeah.
And like I love chicken. I can eat chicken just about with anything.
Yeah.
But I just can't have it every day. It's a once a weeker for me. And then obviously you kind of start streamlining your other source of protein. I take it red meat was just a no.
No, it was red meat's really quite high in fat. Tends to be quite high in fat.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was like leaner meats. At the start, I was eating quite a lot of like salmon, but that's quite high in fat. So when I started getting further into prep, it started being more white fish, more leaner
Yeah.
fish that had less fat in them,
Yeah.
and sausages and stuff that was just mainly just really quite lean.
Lean protein. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. Like when you actually look at it for the entire perspective of what actually it takes to get there.
I am very excited to see
What
a couple of the people that said that they're going to compete.
Yeah.
There is quite a few there. I'm excited to see them go through their prep, and I'm not going to mention specific names. They know who they are, but at the end of the day, like, even if you weren't to place, do it for the experience. Even if there's some individuals that might not be ready yet. But if you really want to compete, like for anyone, I know a couple friends that say, I want to compete, but I'm not ready yet. And it's like, I was like, right, okay, when do you want to compete? And it was like next year. I was like, well, why not? Go for it.
Yeah.
Because even if you weren't to place well, at least you got the experience of it now.
Yeah.
The experience of how shows run and how the judges are and how you should be on stage, stuff like that. And you can see how the other girls do it or the other guys do it as well. And you can just get the overall experience of a show. Because just the feeling of it overall, like shows in general, that's what caught me in the first place, was when I went to Shane's competition. It felt addicting on my part as well. Like, even though I was in the audience, I wasn't partaking in anything. I was so emotionally invested in everyone's routines. Like, I was so curious as to what they were doing, what music they chose, and it was so fascinating to see their end result. And at another point afterwards, like a couple of weeks afterwards, I actually started like searching them up on social media to see what their progress was like
after.
So I was really curious to see what they actually started with and then what they ended with. And they were completely different people. It was so mad to see that the end result that I had seen just as a first beginner, sort of not knowing anything about prep, not knowing anything about bodybuilding, to then seeing what they'd done and seeing the girls up on stage, it just really inspired me to actually be like, I actually want to do this.
You
was
found your
really
niche.
cool.
Absolutely found your niche, because you're going to be fucking amazing at it.
Thank you.
You really are. You're like a different. I can't quite figure out how strong your mentality is. That's something that's kind of blown me away by this episode, if anything, is just like fortitude. It's the kind of what's coming into my head.
I think the more I go on and the more I experience, the more headstrong I get in terms of, if I want to do something, I'll do it at least once. If I don't like it, that's fine. But I really wanted to do a skydive, and I really wanted to do bungee jump, and I really wanted to do a shark dive, and I was like, I could never do that. And I was like, well, how do you know you can do it if you didn't at least try? So then that's what obviously happened, and I'm glad that I did it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm sort of like, even now thinking about a bungee jump, it puts me in shakes.
I don't think I could.
You never know, though.
I don't know if I'm the same. It makes my stomach knot.
But once you do it once, it's like, wow.
I do think I'd be the same as you, though. Like, in the thing, it's just like, if somebody then gave me like a $5, there's a $5 charity, like, you dickhead. You've got me now.
I'm going to start sponsoring you for stuff just so you can't get out of it now.
Right. There's a great charity for something. Yeah, Andrew out of it. Shark dive. You scared of sharks? It's fine to be scared of sharks.
It's not the sharks that scare me, although, yes, when we're in their domain and in sort of water, then, you don't really have a chance.
Have you seen a shark before? Like, not being patronizing, like, have you swam with a shark or anything?
Yeah. So I went up to, I think it's Deep Sea World up in near Edinburgh. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
And I did the tank one. It wasn't the issue of the sharks, it was more the issue of the water. For me, hate water. Absolutely hate it. The ocean, I hate it, even though I got in it last weekend. I cannot stand the thought of not seeing what's under the water.
That's mental.
it terrifies me to the point where there could be anything underneath, and you technically don't know that. But then you have to sort of think, right, what are the odds of that? Think about it logically.
Probabilities
But
logically.
my head is like, no, I don't want to do that. But
That's mad that obviously, as you say, you come off the back of last week that you went out, and I did not know that about you, that you went and got that and you're actually
yeah,
fucking out brave.
yeah.
Wow, well done. Yeah,
Thank
like
you.
I don't know if it freaked you out just with the shark aspect, is when I done my whale shark swim last year.
All right.
We were 21 miles offshore. So like we were told when you jump into the water, whatever you do, you just have to look like straight. Whatever you do, you can't like look about because
Right.
everything is just blue. There's
Right.
no definition because it's that deep.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm fine with the water, but SAF, that's the one thing that really got SAS going into it was you're 21 miles out at sea, there's a 30-foot shark, bigger things are below you. And that's a horrible thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
No, absolutely.
Because we forget as well as humans, we're amazing, but you put us up against nature
We're
and
tiny in perspective.
just in perspective, we're absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you'd like to add in tonight's episodes?
I think in terms of future aspirations is only really the thing that I have here and how I feel at Sparta as well. I was going to mention that Sparta as a gym
that's where I was going.
has grown so much since I first joined.
Yeah.
Like it was mainly male dominated when I first joined, but that was because the specific time that I was in.
Yeah.
You know, you can't put an opinion overall on the entire day of saying, oh, there was no one in when I was only in for an hour or two. So usually in my time slot, it was mainly men.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not as intimidated by the people that are in Sparta now, regardless of whether they're of an older membership or if they've just come in brand new. But yeah, I think Sparta in general, just the support that you get now.
Yeah. Do you not think you're like, I don't know. The one thing that I think about Sparta is it makes me respect people. That's one thing that I come away with is that I always think that you learn a little bit of respect, and that's credit to Alan. I think specifically for the way that he's just developed the gym and the mentality and the approach, and as you say, the support that you get. I mean, the support that I've had personally has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
And obviously for yourself,
the support during prep was mad when everyone started realizing, you know, this person's actually going to go through with it. And they started seeing changes. I had a lot more people approaching me saying, you know, how you're feeling, you know, how's training going, how's your diet, how you feeling towards the competition sort of thing. And it was pretty much every single day that was happening, where someone was coming up and asking me. And it feels really nice to actually know that people are taking notice, and not in a judgmental way either. It's actually through genuine care. There's a lot of people there that, you know, I have massive respect for, and I've seen them through the months, whether they notice it or not, whether they think that I have or not. There's a lot of people there that it's like, this person they train really well, they're here really consistently, and even when they aren't, when they come back after a while, they're on it. You know, the people in the gym are, you know, it.
Well, yeah, they're lovely.
Yeah.
Well, like I've spoken at length, and obviously I've trained with. No, have I trained with Shane? I might have done the session. I honestly can't remember. But obviously, like I know you guys, and like, and I'll be totally honest here, and this is just kind of an off the record thing. I would generally say, in fact, you know, I am going to state this indefinitely. I've had far more support over the last year from people in the gym, people that are, like I say, Jordan, who have not necessarily know that much, or Keith, and especially Shane as well. The messages, the support, the chats, and everything is far more than my, I'm air quoting again here, friends.
Yeah.
And
the people that know you in your life don't know specifically. I feel like in the gym, you give off a sort of, I don't want to say like an aura or whatever, but like you give off an energy about you where you can tell if someone's feeling off that day.
100%.
And that's why sort of when I come into the gym, I try and be as lighthearted as physically possible, when in reality, most of the time I'm either in pain due to migraines or just not feeling it.
Yeah.
But in terms of the people in general, you know, because I see, like, whenever I see them smiling and, you know, like the support that I get, like, I really hope that more and more people approach me and sort of, if they need advice, if they need help, you know, if they just want to chat because it's the only chat that they've had for the day,
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that. And I really hope that from this podcast, people realize, you know, that I like being approached in the way of, you know, I feel like people can approach me and they're happy to do so and they feel comfortable around me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person where they look at me and say, you know, oh, she's a bikini competitor, she knows her shit,
Yeah.
you know, and be intimidated by me. I don't want that whatsoever. Just because I've competed doesn't mean that I'm any less of a person.
Which is such a good point to make, because when I first started the gym, no way would I go up and speak to Dan, Cow, and Alan, because they're the big guys.
Yeah.
And it's such a good point. That's such a good point to make.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that everyone deserves to feel a part of the team, regardless of how long they've been going and how good their progress is, regardless of how much weight you push. You're still part of Sparta, and Sparta is still your gym.
Well, that's the one thing that Alan's done specifically well, is it's like, there's no way, and when I say this, it's not a disservice to Terry or any of the guys at the sweatshop, but there's no way on earth that I would go in and publicly squat 40 kilos in that gym, because, you know, the guy on the other side of the gym's got 140 on there, and it's just it's defeating that aspect. But I think the culture has changed in what Alan's done. Like,
100%. I've walked around the gym modeling them 1 kilogram dumbbells before, and they do look funny walking around with 1 kilogram dumbbells, but, you know, just own it. You know, 1 kilogram is still a kilogram.
Strut your stuff.
It still becomes heavy after you do 20 reps of them, regardless of how much weight you have on.
Well, honestly, I really do hope that, as you say, people listening to this will have a different dynamic, because this is, I do not think I'm going to get a better podcast than this in a while. Like, honestly, this has been, in fact, I've still got your quickfire questions to do too.
Go for it, yeah.
Right, well, actually, you know what, I'm going to angle this in a slightly different way. I'm not even going to look.
Okay.
These are going to be, because the questions that were sent to me, I've interpreted through the podcast.
Right.
Okay, so and what I'll do is just tell anybody listening, the people that sent in, what I'll do is I'll just timestamp them, so they just say we haven't named people, but they'll know we're relatively been answered. Okay, you ready? Favorite meal?
Oh, I do like pizza.
Specifically? Come on, you can't just say pizza.
I do like a chicken pizza, I'm not gonna lie, just purely for the protein of it.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, I'm quite basic.
Have you tried my proteins? My protein.
Yes.
Have you tried the spicy chicken?
Yes.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I know the protein's in the base. It's just the base that I struggle. Just because the top's so nice, like it tastes so good. It's just texture. I mean, it's thingy.
Yeah.
You're a big pizza buff.
Yeah. I love pizza.
I'm actually making my own pizzas tonight.
Ooh.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I was saying, okay, that was an easy one. Do you believe in Bigfoot?
Not Bigfoot specifically. There could be some animal out there that could be, you know, that could look like something like that. Yeah. It's kind of like the Loch Ness Monster sort of thing. Like, you don't know what people have perceived as that sort of monster. There's so many things out there that could be mistaken for huge.
It's interesting because this is why I've asked this question second up, because before we were doing this, we actually had a brilliant chat. I don't even know if I wish I was recording the time on conspiracy theories. That's why I've stuck that in, because as you say, people look at me and I do believe in Bigfoot, but not just Bigfoot. It's like tiny little big feet that are far more believable.
Yeah.
It's my approach to it.
100%.
Rather than the 12-foot giant up in the Rockies or whatnot.
Well, you never know. If there's Bigfoot out there, I hope to meet him one day.
I'm finding him. Favorite band?
I've been getting into Oh, what's their name? Now I've forgotten about them. There's so many bands that there's like my music's quite sort
Are
of
you like a range in music, or yeah,
yes. It's so much. I don't have a specific
a specific like type?
but like it goes from like AC/DC to like
Yes.
Taylor Swift to Eminem to NF to like I would have a favorite artist, which is NF. I don't have a
Okay.
favorite band,
Okay.
although Bring Me the Horizon,
I'm really into them just now. It's funny you say that.
yeah, I'm really into sort of that
Yeah.
sort of type of music
Do you
just
like
now.
do you like Muse?
What's that? Oh
That's a
no.
band. That's my favorite band of all
Oh
time.
no, I've not heard. I've probably heard of their
Oh, you definitely
songs.
would have heard of one of their
Yeah.
songs. I just funny the way that you answered that.
What's
It's that
that? That's such
it's
a
just that
Gen
I
Z thing
honestly
to
no. It's
say.
I'm gonna get I'm gonna get ripped senseless for it because nobody else likes Muse.
I probably have heard them. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I'm
Time is
really
running
bad with
out. Time is
names.
running out. Plug-in baby. Ah, you've definitely heard them. I'll play you a song
No.
after we're done recording,
Okay.
and then you'll know.
100%.
Whatever. Favorite season of the year?
I do like summer, but I do like autumn as well because I quite like the way that the colors change, but I don't like the weather
Yeah.
that's associated with it. So it really depends.
Favorite compound? Lift.
Hmm. See, I like them all. I do like a good deadlift though.
Yeah, by far my favorite.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite of the three? Oh, if we're just talking about the big three.
Squat.
Yeah. Actually, no, I prefer the squat over my bench press. I hate benching. Do you like benching?
I quite like benching now, yeah. I used to hate it. I used to be like leg day only. I don't
Yeah.
like anything else. But now it's like switched where my favorites are back, chest, and shoulders.
Oh, I like a back day.
Yeah.
Like the one thing, honestly, I'm raging at this. How stupid does this sound?
Hmm.
Right. I've not benched 100 kilo this year.
Right.
And a week and a half ago, I benched it.
Right.
2 reps, a bit spotter, 1 rep clean, second rep up.
Hmm.
And I'm not even bothered about it.
Okay.
Like, no, like I'm so disheartened. Like the fact that I'm not bothered about it. It's just like
At
that.
least you know you can do it
Well,
now.
yeah, but because every time I went back, I can't, as we said before, like I can't get over 90.
Hmm.
And like it's just like, yeah, as you say, you hate yourself, you're stronger, you're stronger. Anyway, this is your podcast.
Yeah.
I'm speaking about myself so much.
It's so true though, because like when you want to get to a certain weight, like 100
Yeah.
kilograms, right? And you start doing 90 over and over and over and over again, and you start prioritizing on, right, I can get this amount on 90.
Yeah.
And once you get to that point, then it'll be like, actually, it might be possible for 100 now, because you've done so much of 90 over a certain period of time. And as I said about form as well, once you start improving that form, 100% you'll get that 100.
Yeah. Biggest inspiration.
In terms of like an idol or
Yeah, go for an idol. If I know you said before that you don't really like you didn't like just like picking one out per se, but if there was like a kind of level that you thought you would want to push yourself to be.
In terms of bodybuilding, there's quite a few.
Yeah.
There's the new Miss Olympia, Chris Bumstead as well.
Yeah.
Cannot
C-Bum.
beat.
No, he's just.
Yeah, Chris Bumstead is someone to be just in awe of, because just the way the work ethic and the way he's just.
I think it's just the way he handles himself in general in life. Like it's just his approach to life is just so. But it starts like when the work starts, it's like bang, 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 bang.
His
bang.
physique is phenomenal, and
Yeah.
regardless of whether we talk about natty or unnatty,
Yeah.
regardless of what you are
Yeah.
or what you take, you still have to put in the work.
That's the thing.
Regardless,
you
know,
do not get anything for free.
you can work your ass off and be an unnatural athlete,
Yeah.
and someone can work just as hard and look better than you natural.
Well, that was it. That's like I don't know if you listened to it. That was my anger, obviously, with using different compounds and blah, blah, blah. Fucking hell, steroids.
Yeah.
I just couldn't figure out to say steroids, pets, or enhancers.
Yeah.
was that it felt, looking at now, that you do everybody else such a disservice, potentially giving them a bad name.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at me now, there would be no way that I should be touching anything.
Mm-hmm.
And because, like, you know, Sebum and that, yes, okay, they might well not, but it'll be at a level that is only
Mm-hmm.
designed to them. It's not like these super fucking 3 grams mastodon or anything like that, you know?
I think my opinion on it, you know, like you can take what you want, just be
Yeah.
safe with it because it's quite terrifying with steroids.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like you should push your potential first.
Yeah.
Before thinking about enhancements, because some people have amazing genetics, and I know personally some people that are taking steroids right now that I look at them and I say, you know, you could have pushed this further natural.
Mhm.
Just really be careful with what you're doing because the doses that they took
Yeah.
weren't great at all. They just sort of went all or nothing sort of thing and took it. And you know, you should really build on that sort of thing. You should start really small and then go.
That's, it's so dangerous. Like I've said before, like you start talking about blood work and you start pushing it.
Yeah.
Like I've said before, but what is the LGD that was running was, I knew quite early on that I was making what I was doing was not going to end badly,
Mm-hmm.
and it just stupidly pushed on anyway. And I've been lucky, but sometimes people don't get that lucky.
Yeah.
It just never recovers, and you know, it's scary. It's a very important message there.
Yeah. I think that's why I'm always going to be natural. There's not going to be a time. There's only, I've been asked this question several times.
I would never have asked you.
I just want to put that out there. I'm honest about it. I would take them if there was an opportunity to progress in the fitness world.
Yeah.
Like, say, for instance, if Gymshark reached out to me and said, look, I think your physique is great. However, I want you to build more. I want you to take this sort of enhancement. Depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Because if it's a hardcore one, then no. I'd just go away for 10 years and build on my physique and then come back and be like, am I good enough yet? But in terms of like steroids in general, in terms of the bikini world as well, that's why we need to be careful of what competitions we pick. That's why I picked WNBF specifically, because it's drug tested.
Right, okay. Yeah,
Quite a lot of the competitions that are in the UK are untested.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so there's only specific ones that do actual testing. So they do urine testing and they do a lie detector test as well. Just in case.
Just in case, yeah.
Obviously, there's any cheating going on or anything. And that's why I say, if you want to compete in a certain competition, that's fine, but be aware that there is potentially unnatural people there, but there's also other things as well. They could be training like 15, 20 more years than you.
That's it.
Because in bikini, there's no age sort of restriction.
Yeah.
There's only some in certain competitions where it's like under 23s, like a junior sort of thing, and then anyone over 23 is, it could be any age at that point. But it's not to say that you can't go into an unnatural competition and win it.
No.
Because there was a couple of girls that I actually competed with alongside them and seen them in the competition. They went to an unnatural competition and done better than they did in the WNBF.
Wow.
So they placed, one of the girls placed like 5th, I'm pretty sure, top 5, and they placed 2nd in the unnatural one. And one of them placed 2nd in WNBF and won the competition and the overall for bikini for the other competition. So it really just,
hard work beats all.
Yeah, just the overall message is just come in your best as you can, as lean as you can, and just enjoy it. And you know, if you win, you win. If you don't, then at least you've enjoyed the process of it as well. I think that's a major thing where it's like quite a lot of people tend to sort of focus on the end prospect of it. and if you don't actually enjoy the process of it, and then you get disappointed at the end, it's kind of a little bit demoralizing. When you get to that point, and it's like, oh, actually, I didn't do as well.
Especially if you need to, as they build up the pieces, and then you want to go again. Then bricks are going to be harder to build back for.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not just saying it because you're in front of me, and you could probably bench press me. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Give me a couple of years.
This has honestly been a brilliant 2 hours and 5 minutes.
It's been 2 hours.
2 hours and 5 minutes. We've had one full start, and we've had one break where I started rambling off about naivety.
Yeah.
Then got stuck, and it's done exactly what I thought it would do, and the combo would just flow. So you're going to come back on next year and give us an update, though.
We can do.
Yeah, and you're going to get Shane on with you this time.
I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'll ask. But...
Yeah. And get the program priced up and make some money off of it.
Yeah. And maybe I should become a PT.
100% you should. You've got the absolutely amazing attitude for it too, by the way.
Thank you.
Mindset is amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I sign us off?
I don't know. Hopefully that some of the people that come along on the journey might see me at the Worlds one day.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be an amazing journey. It's going to be an absolute amazing journey. And thank you so much for coming on tonight as well.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, anytime. It's been a brilliant chat. I'm going to leave that there because my mind is actually quite buzzing with all the information that's been able to process in this one. It's been a brilliant episode. Yasmin, again, thank you so much. A big shout out to all the guys across the Sparta,
100%.
and a massive shout out to Shane as well. And tell him my best wishes too, please.
Will do.
Okay, guys. I love yous and leave yous. And until next time, guys, this has been Andrew Willox. And of course, once more, this has been the Borderline Podcast. Good night.